Megan Scully joins us right now. She's a Bloomberg reporter, and she's been helping to parse through the files, and she joins us right now from our Washington bureau. And Megan, first I want to start off with the idea of exactly what is being released today, because I was under the understanding that we were supposed to get the full cache of files based on the way the law was written. Is that what we're getting today?
Absolutely. We were supposed to get the full cache of files. The Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, said earlier today that we would only receive part of it, hundreds of thousands of pages. He said at this point, it's not looking quite like it's in the hundreds of thousands of pages, but we're still going through the documents at this moment. Now, they are expected to be dribbling out more detail, more documents in the coming days. These include pictures, videos, court documents, grand jury documents that have not yet been seen. But I can say in our initial 30 minutes or so of going through these documents, there are a lot of redactions. Of course, the law provided some exceptions, including to protect survivors. But I can say there are a lot of things in here that we are not able to say.
Well, with that in mind, is this really going to satisfy those who pushed for greater transparency when you consider the fact that you do have all these pages blacked out?
So we're already hearing from congressional Democrats that they're going to explore every legal option possible to get these files. That was earlier today when we learned from Todd Blanche that they wouldn't receive all of the files. I'm sure that this sets up a court fight, an ongoing court fight for the months ahead. This is definitely not an issue that is going away anytime soon. It will be fought. It will be a heavy political fight leading up to the midterms in particular.
Have we heard at all today, Megan, from the White House on this? Of course, the president himself, while of course we know that he has had a long-term relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, he has been adamant that he was not aware of any of the crimes, particularly the sex offenses that Jeffrey Epstein was either convicted for or alleged to have committed.
So most of what we are hearing so far today, and I'm just going to pull up, we have some information from Todd Blanche, but most of what we're hearing today is coming from the DOJ. Of course, the president is speaking tonight in North Carolina, so he may have more to say there. But the Justice Department is saying some 200 attorneys went through these files to determine what was able to be released and what was not. The process, Blanche said in a letter to Congress, resulted in over 1,200 names being identified as victims or their relatives. So that gives you some sense of the scope of the number of names involved in these documents.
Absolutely, Megan. And, we're seeing this release about 11 months ahead of the midterms. What does this mean potentially for, of course, the Republican Party, but also for President Donald Trump? As Romaine mentioned, a long-term association with Jeffrey Epstein, and this has really been framed as another big headache for him.
Absolutely. So as Romaine has said, Trump has disavowed any knowledge of any of the sex trafficking, any of the Jeffrey Epstein, his activities, his illegal activities, certainly over the last 2 decades. So, but it does certainly cause a problem. It already is causing a problem for the president in terms of creating fractures within his own party. He's had a very public dispute with Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of his key acolytes on the Hill, who's actually resigning from Congress next year over this matter. Of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene has pushed for full accountability on the Epstein matter, as have several other Republicans, including Nancy Mace and Thomas Massie.